Hon.Seyi Adisa. Hon.Seyi Adisa is a Nigerian Public Administrator presently serving in the Oyo State House of Assembly as the Honorable Member representing Afijio State Constituency. He has served in the executive and legislative arms of government in the past 11 years. He was the Principal Private Secretary to His Excellency Abiola Ajimobi, a former Governor of Oyo State, before his current role as an Honorable Member. His brand of politics is people-focused, deploying the instrumentality of care, consistency, and collaboration aimed at participatory governance for the direct development of people and communities. He has a master's degree in public administration from the University of Birmingham, where he also obtained his law degree. In October 2020, he was named amongst the top most influential people of African descent, MIPAD 100. Seyi Adisa is a minister at Global Harvest Church, Agodi, and is happily married with a beautiful daughter. Ladies and gentlemen, if your hands are not too busy, with a resounding applause and Jesus' joy in our hearts, please make welcome Hon.Seyi Adisa to the NXC Conference 2022.
All right. I think I'll just go right to it. I have here my PVC. Can you put your hands together for me? And so I think about our electoral process in this country, in Nigeria. And I'm thinking, yes, this is my voice. It's my power. But 4 years, what am I going to do if I make a mistake after 4 years? What can believers out here, what can they do when it comes to elections in Nigeria? Electoral process, politics in Nigeria. What exactly is the wise thing to do?
All right. Good evening, everyone. I am so pleased to be here. Thank you, Pastor Shola. Thank you, Tope. And thank you to our senior pastors. I was just telling Dr. K that we're family. You know, Global Harvest and King's Word, it is family, and I'm so delighted to be here. Thank you very much. Dr. May, thank you, ma. All right, so I'll be as open and as frank as I can be. I hope I don't sound a bit harsh. Please forgive me in advance. I just want to tell the truth, and I hope you take me as it is. All right, so, you know, the PVC is the lowest form of participation. Having a PVC is the lowest form of participation you can have. I don't want to do a head count, but I can probably guess, I'm not sure, 50%, if we have up to 50% in this room that have voters' cards. That's the truth. We vote every 4 years, but then whatever happens, we still have a voice. Everything that is being done is to kill our voice. And we must understand that as believers, as citizens of this country, we have a voice. I'm a member of the House of Assembly. I go home every Wednesday to see my people. But rarely does anybody come and see me, apart from the grassroots politicians that want to take things. Nobody brings ideas. Nobody asks me questions. Nobody's challenging me. And that's one of the 32 in Oyo State. There are 40 of them in Lagos. There are 24 of them in Ogun State. We are supposed to be the closest to the people. Nobody's asking questions. You've made it too easy for us. So if I like, I can do 4 years, whatever I feel, and then a few months before election, start working and start doing things. And then people will say, he's doing well. But the honest truth is that we have a voice, and I think we must use that voice in terms of going to speak and making those that are in office accountable. Now, you may say going alone will be a problem, and I agree. But if you go in groups, we politicians, we love numbers. So when we see numbers, we tend to listen more. We are more obedient. All right? So organize in groups. Go and make your voices heard. You know, and this is so important because where we make laws. Those laws affect your lives. Those laws affect the schools you go to. They affect the health care you have. They affect the type of security that happens in our nation. they affect whether you can worship on Sundays or not. That's how important governance is. And that's why it's so shocking how little attention we pay to it. All right? So the first thing is have a voice. The second thing I'll say is join a party. I'm not here to preach parties, but I'm sure everybody wants to know how to become a delegate. I'm sure a lot of people want to know how to become a delegate. Well, the parties decided who became delegates. And it is those that play in that place that have the chance of being able to represent people. So join a ward, get your membership card, attend. I guarantee you, once you start to attend these meetings, because of your exposure and your experiences, people at the grassroots will listen. You'll be able to impact their lives, and once you impact their lives, you're able to influence them. But the problem is we don't go there. All right? So that is a big problem. The third thing is, this party politics is so important that even sometimes when they are picking commissioners and special advisors, it's the parties that decide. And these are, so sometimes when I just sit at the average ward meeting, there's no, if you like, maybe I'll call it middle class. The problem is with the middle class, not the grassroots. The grassroots attend meetings. They are there. They are with their voters card. The middle class don't. It's too easy. We're comfortable. We don't want to, will I go and wait under INEC or in the sun, under the sun and go to INEC? It's too, I can't be bothered. And that's a problem for us.
Wow, let's put our hands together for him. I'd like to ask you another question, sir. What mistake do you think the church is making when it comes to governance right now? What mistake do you think we're making?
I think it's not educating and equipping Christians to go into politics. All right? I think the Muslim faith is very, very political. They are involved in everything. And the church doesn't educate, public policy. What does it take to be a counselor? What does it take to be a chairman? My rights, my civic responsibilities. Yes, the church and the state are different, but, there is something about education. And the consequence of it for me is that governance, as I said, controls everything. Christians are supposed to have the love of Christ. Christians are supposed to uphold justice. So if Christians get there, they will be able to uphold the standards of Christ, so that people can, it's like a lifestyle that is full of love and compassion and going against injustice. But when Christians are not, they don't even know how to, I'm sorry, and as I said, I apologize in advance. But, it's like we're not engaging the process. And so I think the church needs to educate more. We need to really empower our people, and so that when they start to get into these positions, they can uphold the standards of God. They can uphold justice. Sometimes in the House of Assembly, when we're talking on the floor, the Holy Spirit can tell me, get up, say something now. And I'm like, I didn't plan to talk today. And he says, get up, I want you to say something. That's because I'm connected, and so I can respond. But if I'm not connected, I'm just a number there. We just carry on. So I think the church has to do a lot more with educating and helping people participate, engage the process. I think that's important. The second thing I think the church needs to do is engage even those in offices. I think we shouldn't keep quiet. Yes, we may not go as the church, but we can have pressure groups. We can have different other agencies. Elijah was speaking to Ahab. Jeremiah was speaking to kings. Back in the day, the prophets were challenging authority. They were challenging the political authority. We are not doing that. We are waiting for Khan alone to do all of that. And the honest truth is that when you look at the whole system, when we pick commissioners, if there are more Muslims than Christians, expect a letter. When we do anything and there are more Christians than Muslims, expect a letter. Anything that you do that looks like there's an imbalance, Muslims will contact you. But Christians, even if there's imbalance, we're not in.
We're love beings. We just love the government. All right, I have another question for you, sir. We've seen scenarios where Christians get into office either by appointment or by election. And it seems as though after 2 years, they're like the people that we thought were on the other side. So using examples, we want to know what exactly is the issue, and then how can it be prevented? Because, I mean, there's a reason why our parents said politics is a dirty game, because they saw these things. And rather than compromise their faith, they rather cut off their right hand, misinterpreting the scripture. So I'd like to hear from you, sir.
So politics is not dirty. It's the people that play it that are dirty.
Wow.
All right? So it's government. It's neutral. If you have more people that are dirty, in quotes, playing it, then righteousness begets righteousness, righteousness will beget unrighteousness. It's as simple as that. You know, so the majority playing it are not going there for the right reasons. And that's the consequences we see. Those are the injustices we see. You know, when somebody doesn't have the value of love and has the value of money, for example, I'm going to use that as an example. You know, those values will affect his thinking. His thinking will affect his emotions. His emotion will affect his belief system. His belief system will affect his behavior. His behavior over time will become a habit. The habit is what all of us have. It becomes culture. And culture is very difficult to break. And so you have a culture that is already instilled, ingrained in the system. And the average Christian that goes there, goes in very lackadaisical. Oh, they appointed me SC. Oh, they appointed me commissioner. Alas, you're going into a strong culture. A culture that has its systems of doing things. And so the average Christian is not prepared. That's the starting point.
Preparation.
They're not prepared. In terms of competence, sometimes, I have experiences where people came to meet me. They came in from the private sector, and later on they said, Seyi, we don't know how you are doing it. We're going. We're not going to stay here. And I saw that as lack of preparation. They weren't expecting what they got. There are two main types of temptations that come in government. The first one is they go against you, they fight you. The second one is they pull you to their side and give you brown envelope to join them. It's always it's usually in those two sides.
So how do you prevent a compromise?
So I think
brown envelope.
So yes, Ghana must go as the back in the but they are using dollars now. So we don't need big bags. But the point I'm making is that, you know, when a Christian is going into this arena, spiritually he must be prepared. You know, I was at a program yesterday. I said your priestly anointing is what gives you your kingly dominance. All right? Is that anointing, is that connection you have? Because I stayed in the system. I used to love Sundays. Because Sundays when I get into church, I'm like, you know, I understood when the psalmist said, I was glad when they said, let us go. Because, you know, Monday to Saturday, you're in the system, you're fighting, you're doing all of those things just to keep yourself. And then on Sunday, it's like, thank God, but we go again. We go again. And you know, I think that the spiritual side is extremely important. Otherwise, you lose it. The second thing is you need to renew your mind daily. Because you see, when they come against you, it's a battle. But the harder one is, this is your own share now. We prepared it for you. All of us have taken. This is your own. And that one looks like they are your friends. Just don't sign that paper or just do something else. You know, that one is not really against you and in terms of aggressiveness, but they are compromising you. They're compromising you. So I think these are some of, renew your mind, I think spiritually. And then I also think like, and I'll be free to say this here, when I was campaigning, I was looking for votes. You know, I was going to so many places. And I had experiences where people said, there's a calabash you need to take to the Orita Mefa. Do you understand? And
real calabash.
I didn't even see it anyway, but it was a calabash they told me. But the point is that if you're so desperate and you don't have values, do you understand? You will, in the name of getting it by force, do those things. All right? And that's when people start to lose themselves. They start to compromise. So I think Christians, it's a preparation thing. It's a mindset thing. It's an understanding that I am going into a system that is dark, is rigid, has its systems, and I'm going as light. And when light comes, darkness should really go away. All right? And the last thing I want to say is that please we need an army. All right? One is never enough. It's a tough battle being alone, fighting systems. Do you understand? That's why when Elijah was feeling like, I'm tired, they said there are 7,000. You know, you need to have people that you guys can retreat to your company and refresh. You need to have people that you can go back to and say, you know what, they tried it on me, but you know what, I pushed them away. And that's very important. So we need to raise more Christians going into that space.
Can we put our hands together for him? There's this question, right? By the way, in the new, we are an apostolic church, and we have this network called Politics and Governance. Politics and Governance. We went out with Honorable Seyi some weeks back, some months back actually. And there was this story that you told us. I think you need to share it with us, where I'll just use one word and I hope it jerks up your memory. You said, so I'd like you to please share. Please share. We need to hear it. It's a story about, you know, when there was some tussle, there was some issues, spiritual wickedness, where somebody came in and they want to attack you spiritually, right there in that scenario.
Okay. So I think that, you know, there are several ones that come to mind.
Several.
But you know, the good thing is that after a while they know. After a while, don't play with him. He won't come, bro. Don't bother. Don't waste your time. But in the beginning, they will try. In the beginning, they will try and lure you. And the one that immediately comes to mind, again, it was, you know, when we were trying to, when I was running for election, and you know, they said there's a special prophet for elections. You know, when he prays for you, you must win. And you know, again, as I said, if you don't know your God, you'll start to fumble. You know, but over time, I just had to let them know that me myself, I'm a minister. Do you understand? So when you are talking about whether it's the calabash, whether it's blowing something into the air, whether it's going to meet a prophet, I don't need it. If God cannot do it, I don't need it. Me myself, in the place of prayer, I'm more than enough. So there is no having to what's it called? And over time, they just realize this guy too is firepower. Just leave him as he is. And it has reduced the temptations, because some things they don't even bring to me anymore. But at the beginning, everybody is testing everybody's power. Everybody is testing everybody's. You know, we've just finished a lot of congresses. And during those congresses, let me tell us, whenever we're talking about politics, why it's so strong is because we're talking about power. Anytime we're talking about power, the devil shows up. All right? The devil is very interested in power. He wants to rule the world or continue to rule the world. So he's very interested in power. And we as Christians, once you understand that, you know, there is no power like the power of Jesus. So they are afraid of each other because they don't know where he went to or where she went to. But when you show up, it doesn't matter which one of you, we are more than you. So during the primaries, many times, you know, they'll say they touched somebody, the person was sick. They'll say they used a ring to hit somebody, the person was. But when you two, you know your God. I'm telling you the truth, you will not be afraid. We're going into a power place. We must know our God. That's the only way we're going to survive there. Everybody is depending on power, some way or the other. Everybody. Everybody. And you must not mix. You must not compromise. You stay with your God and you'll be fine.
Let's put our hands together for him. In 2 minutes, we want to ask about the spiritual regimen for those that want to enter into government, want to be elected into politics.
All right, so I'll tell you my own story. I want to thank my brother. I have a brother in the, my spiritual brother, Bra Ayo. He's, you know, one of my prayer partners. And every Monday, when I was going for elections, every Monday we had prayer meetings. And we will pray and we will speak and we will get direction. Because we understood Psalm 44 verse 3. We did not obtain the land. It wasn't by our own power. It wasn't by our own hand. It was God's right hand, you know, because he favored us. And, you know, it is important that you realize that you're going into a realm. And that's the part I keep trying to tell Christians. It's a power thing. All right? And through it all, you must maintain your own prayer altar, a place whereby you're consistently fired up. The other thing is, you know, the word. I don't know how else to put it. These are things that have sustained me. I remember there was a day, one of my colleagues came from Abuja. It was essay to the liaison office. And she saw a Bible by my table. And she was shocked. She said, "You mean you have a Bible on your table in governor's office?" And I was like, "Yes." And she was like, "Are you not afraid?" Of what? I want people to know who I am. I'm not ashamed. I want them to know who I am. So there's this consciousness that everybody has their own power. Because I worked with the governor, we had people that would come into the governor's office, and you will smell charms. You will smell it. They have rubbed themselves. They have loaded. They have all these things, beads, and then ifumpa. You know it. They have all of those things. All right. They have pots, and sometimes, you know, when they want to come in, you see them, you know, biting their lips.
Are you sure they're not praying in tongues?
I don't think so. I don't think so. You know, and you know, those things, even before I got into the office, I mean, it made me very conscious that this is a power thing. And we that have the ultimate power, we must understand that and use it to empower others. We must understand that and use it for the glory of God in what we're doing. So I think a Christian going in must be prayerful, must be close to the word, and must not abstain from the place of fellowship. I think you need that for your own sanity. All right? You need that to continue to refresh yourself.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, final question. I want you to talk about people that have gone ahead and long-term thinking when it comes to politics, and how short-term some of us can be. I mean, two of the major aspirants that we see today, one has been involved in politics from the early 90s. One was a presidential candidate since then. And then this is over 20 years later. But then we think in 4 years, some people think in 20 years. How do you do what kind of mind renewal can we begin to think that, okay, 2023 is almost, well, we have a chance, but what can we begin to do in 2027, 2031, 2035, where in 5 years or 10 years, we can see people in the new begin to take their place. That, okay, this guy is going for this office, this guy is going for, and he's fully prepared. That kind of long-term thinking. How can we do that? How can we make that difference, sir?
I think long-term thinking is the only way. Again, I remember that there are some people, when we want to recruit judges, they get involved. When we want to recruit magistrates, they get involved. When we want to recruit police, they get involved. When we want to recruit anything, do you know why? Their positioning. Their positioning is strategic. You know, and they are that intentional about it. So for me, I think it has to be long-term. We need to understand that the system already has its formation. But first of all, let's equip. Please, Christianity is about transformed lives. It's not a name. It's about transformed lives. And it's about people that want to go into the system to show the heart of God, to show the love of God, to uphold justice against injustice, to create a social order whereby, you know, people can live peaceably with one another. And so politically, first things first, be informed, be educated, understand what you need to do. Second of all is participate. Get your voters card, get into parties. The moment you get into parties, you start to create impact. And you know the funny thing about parties? A lot of us are already doing these things as NGOs. We're already doing health outreaches, medical outreaches. We're already doing programs in schools. Political parties, that's a platform to do some of those things. Only that they will now start rewarding you with youth leader and woman leader and ward chairman. And before you know it, they'll make you party chairman. And then it's a process. You know, we change executives every 3 to 4 years. So in your first 2-3 years, they may just make you youth leader. But by the second round, they might make you party chairman or something else, you are already controlling the way things are being done. The biggest fight I had over the last year was me trying to touch the parties. They fought me with everything. They said, we will not let you pick the party chairman. We will not let you pick. Because they understand that once he starts to pick them, he can start to control them. And once he starts to control them, it is not business as usual anymore. So once you understand that I'm informed, I know what I'm doing, then I start to engage. Then I get into the system. And like Ribena starts off very blackcurranty, but then you start to pour water. You start to pour water, and then the color starts to change. And then the color starts to change. And then after a while, it looks plain, as if there was no Ribena there. So before people say, oh, the parties are dirty, get in. Jesus said he came for the sick, not for those that were well. Get in. Get in and start to change the parties from the inside. And we need an army. I cannot overemphasize this. Going alone, they will, in fact, it will be too hard a battle. But go en masse. Let's go. Let's bring light. Let's bring change. It will not happen overnight, but as long as we understand it's a process and we're ready to stay with it, because they will fight you. They will fight you like they are fighting me. And they're saying, guy, you cannot pick this chairman. And I'm like, but I'm the honorable member. I say, so what? Finish your term and leave the place. Because you are doing what we didn't think you would do. But I'm like, me and you, we are here. I'm not going anywhere. And that's that staying power that we're going to have mentally to stay there and to continue to build. And 2023 comes, we don't give up. 2027 comes, we don't give up. And that's when we start to put in our own candidates. That's when we start to support the right type of people. That's when we start to have councillors, and you start to have local government chairmen and House of Assembly and reps and senators. And that's how it's going to be. And it has to be a national thing, as it were, because no matter how much we try in the South, we need the North. All right? So if you make everything happen in the South, you still have a North to work with. All right? So we need this thing working all around so that we can start to have like-minded people. We need people with the right values, the values that have been formed from a godly point of view, from divine laws, and then we are able to put them into human laws that will affect the people. I think it's a long-term game, but it's a game we must have if we're going to make changes.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir. Can we rise up and honor him? Thank you for your time. Thank you for being a blessing to the gathering 2022. Thank you so much. All right.